Hello and welcome to hobby vlog number 85, I think. 84. I think it's 85. 84! It's been a lot anyway, quite incredible. I've had a good week, I've had a busy week. It's going to be only get even busier, but I do appear, having looked through the list of things I've worked on, to have achieved once more than I thought I had. So it just does go to show, like I said at the end of last week, that if you just do stuff, then it accumulates quite rapidly, actually. So we've got some model railway things, we've got a few other projects that are ongoing. We've got the TCU challenge, which is building the 4-part diorama that I started in December last year, which is really, really cool to see coming together so well. And various other bits and pieces as well, including a new game that arrived. So I hope you enjoy the video. Let me know in the comments below. I do love reading them. I reply to every single one of them. Don't be shy, do make yourself known. And yeah, I really appreciate you watching, and I'll see you again at the end. Next thing I'm working on is bedding these trees in a little bit, and I'm also going to bed the sandpit in a bit as well. I'll do that in another segment. So what I've got is I've got some quantum materials from Luke's APS from Geek Gaming, which I like so much. I've got the base ready forest ground cover, and I've got the forest ground cover floor cover. Now the difference between the two is that the base ready, which is this stuff, is very, very fine, which is great for the garden. So I'm going to be putting that around the base of this apple tree. And then the forest is much coarser, as you can see. That's probably better for 28mm, not quite such a good scale for this. And that is going to be used for these more wild trees. So how I'm doing this is very, very carefully. Yes, how do you eat a porcupine? I've got a little brush, a small brush, which I'm applying white glue, just my normal scenic glue, PVA water and a little bit of washing up liquid, just to act as a flow improver and to prevent it from becoming mouldy. And then put that around the roots of the tree and a little bit onto the grass, but not too much, just so that it can be blended in. Okay, and with that done, I have a little spatula, which is really, really cool. I don't know where I got it from, but I've had it all my hobby career. Actually, I've had it, I'm pretty sure this might be something that my dad had, to be honest. I think this might have come out of the original model railway kit. But anyway, yes, I'm using this little spatula just to kind of drop the scenic material exactly where I want it to. I did try this with a pinch with my fingers, but my hands are too big to get in underneath these trees, frankly. So if you're little, you might be all right. But if you're the size of me, then you're not going to be able to get in there. And as you can see, just that very, very basic technique has made a big difference to how that tree is looking. I've left the camera set up pointing at both, so it's not massively focused. I'll do a close-up in a minute. So we're going to do the same technique around the base of this tree. And what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to do, oh, dropped a bit, just be careful. Use your twisting motion to make sure you don't get drips like I just did. Is I'm going to put the fine stuff around it, and then I'm going to put a little bit of the larger stuff as well, because this has probably not been cared for quite as much as in the garden. And also, yeah, it's nice to have variety, isn't it? So we'll just paint this in the same way. And yeah, pretty pleased with how this is going. Rosie saw it this morning, was very, very happy, which is obviously what matters. So yeah, so we've got a little bit of PVA there, a little bit of scenic glue. We're going to come along with our smaller stuff first. And what I might actually do is let that go off a bit as well, then do another layer of glue and come back and double this up. I'll let you know if I do that. So there we are, a little bit of the loose of the smaller stuff, and then let's place some of this larger stuff in as well, which I will do with a pinch on this. So there we are. So I'll let that dry a bit and then seal it up and decide if I'm going to put any more on. I'm doing all the trees like this. I won't film it all. There's no point. Be the same. But yeah, you can see that it makes a big difference already to how that looks set into the terrain. So I'll do a couple of close-ups and then carry on and do the rest of the trees on the layout. And yeah, bring you along for the next step very shortly. So here you can see the base of the smaller tree, the apple tree, which has got only the small scatter. And here is underneath the big tree with the combination of the small and the big scatter, and they're both looking really nice. Pretty pleased with that. Next thing I want to do is get this big puffball tree. And I know that model railways are going to be shouting at me, don't put that so far close to the front, but I think Rosie's going to love this tree. And I'm going to put it in just here. Let me just get that centered a little bit better. Yeah, I'm going to put this in just here. Now it's got a very large bowl, as you can see. It's not a very exciting tree. So I've got to basically dig quite a big hole in the ground cover to fit that in. So what I'm doing is I'm going to use my bradawl to start the hole off and to make it a bit big. But to make it the proper size, I'm actually going to make use of these scissors and kind of bore a hole in, which I think is going to work. Once again, doing things on camera that I've not tried previously. So I'm going to be putting my ground scatter around this, so the white won't matter too much. But I am going to put that into the bin just next to me, if I can. So I'm just going to dig this hole out, sink the tree in, glue it in place probably with Copydex, because that's proven to be quite a good glue for this kind of thing. And then when it's dried, I'll come along and do the same style of scatter around the base as I did for the other trees. So let's see if that's big enough. Yeah, look, there we are, see? Stands in there without no problem at all. So I do need to stand up a bit more. There we are. So we have another tree on the layout. Very, very pleased with that. I'll glue that in place and move on to the next bit. So it's time to add the finishing touch to this. Sadly quite warped, but whatever. It will be fine. And that is, in the last session, we've finally saved Brilette, Finbul's sister. And I have just, in a very, very quick burst of enjoyment, painted her up. Now this is a miniature. I will try to remember to put a link to it from my mini factory, but this is a miniature which has painted up superbly, just beautifully, with very little effort really, to be honest. Let me just zoom in a little bit more on her. Not really very focused. There we are, that'll work better. There we are. So a lot of fun painting her up. Really did it in a couple of days, and she looks absolutely perfect. She's supposed to be a bit playful looking. She's going to be joining our party as an NPC and is a healer, I believe. So yeah, a little bit of fun. So that is the piece finished. So now I will take some nice pictures and then we'll wrap up the video. Pretty pleased with how that looks. Pretty pleased indeed. Right, let's get started on the bases for these fantastic sculpts here. This is the one that misprinted, and this is the one that printed fine. So my plan for these is this one I'm going to, first of all, as you can see, sorry, I've clamped down some cardboard, some thin cardboard to these small shelves that I use. They're really, really good at keeping out and preventing warping. So what I'll do is I will build this up and cut it out, and when it's finished then it won't warp. So anyway, that's what that is. That's why they set like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this one, stick this one down so that it's got this is lifted up, and then build up around there with modelling compound and bed the whole thing in with modelling compound. That's what I'm going to do with that one. And this one, I'm not 100% sure. I might put it onto a little bit of XPS to lift it slightly and then build modelling compound up around it. But then what I'm going to do is paint and flock, because I think that's going to be relatively quick to do once this stage is done, just because, yeah, it will dry overnight sort of thing. So modelling compound, the way that works is you get yourself a small amount into a mixing container. So what I have is I keep my modelling compound, if I can get that in shot, zoom out, no, out. I keep my modelling compound in like an old paint pot, and I have a little kind of beaker which I use for measuring out, and then I have these plastic party bowls, and that's what I put the modelling compound in and mix it. So I will scoop an amount of modelling compound, put it in there, and then basically I add water and mix it to the consistency that I want. I do not have a specific measurement for that, so don't ask me, but it's basically just enough. So I will just do that now while we're on camera. So let me get some water. Okay, so let's move that a little bit. So here we have a little jug of water, and I'll pour some in. It really is not a scientific process, but I know the consistency that I'm looking for. Just pour a little bit more in. Just remember that you can add more water, but you can't remove it, and so if you overwater, you're going to have to add more compound, which might mean you end up wasting compound, and I don't like waste. So that's roughly the consistency I go for. I mix it quite thick. I know some people go a little more watery than that, but for me that's probably just right on the edge of being too moist, to be honest. But yeah, you can see it's still got a little bit of water in it. But you're going to be able to mould that and set that in place. So what I'm now going to do is just quickly make use of this while you're on camera. So actually I'll point the camera a little bit more correctly towards what I'm working on. Okay, so there we are. So what I'm going to do is basically stick a load of the modelling compound on. I probably will need to mix some more up, actually, as it happens. But basically put a patty in and then press it down onto this. And the key here is that I'm not going to be leaving the 3D printed shape on this, because what I'm trying to do is use it as a press mould, and then I'll let that dry, and then when I come to glue this in place, I'll be able to use PVA to glue it in place and bed it in. There we are. So we've got roughly the shape that we want. We'll be able to set that in. So I'll let that to dry, and then probably tomorrow I'll be able to come along and do the rest of the modelling compound work, and I'll think about what I'm going to do for the other one and show you. But I think I'm going to put going to lift it off slightly, but I'm not going to waste modelling compound on the other one. So yeah, there we are. Bit of a start, and you can see just how calm I am about using quite flexible materials, because generally this will now harden very nicely, and we will have a nice solid base underneath. So yeah, this might be a bit thin, this cardboard, but we'll find out. Anyway, rambling now, onwards. A very quick decision has been made, and I have decided that I am not going to raise this above at all. So what I'm going to do is come along with some gator glue, which is great for sticking these sorts of things together, and then glue this down and weight it down, and then I'll do a very basic kind of like bedding in with sand and PVA and terrain paint rather than lifting it up. So we'll just pop the gator glue on like that, and then because gator glue does expand and I don't want this to lift, like I've said, I'm just going to weight it down a little bit. It doesn't need to be weighted down much. That should be enough. So we'll let that go off, and then come back and do the next step very shortly. Last couple of nights I've been painting up very basically these miniatures, which are the figures for the parade and the saluting guy. So we've got like a sergeant major type, like a senior officer dude, and then we've got one guy somewhere who is actually saluting, so the story is going to be able to tell itself. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to build a little platform which is going to go here on the grass, and that's going to have the sergeant major guy stood on it, and then I'll have the saluting guy at the front, and then I'll have ranks of the other soldiers stood behind like that. So first thing to do is going to be to make the platform, and I'm going to make that out of split bits of coffee stirrer. So I will get that ready and then show you how I'm going to assemble it. It's going to be a very, very simple job. Anything that's left over that I don't use of these figures will be able to go by the graveside, so that's going to be really, really useful as well. Okay, these are dried overnight, so simple as that. What I'm going to do is put some PVA glue here and glue this down to the top of the lump of Luke's modelling compound. It will be secured more permanently when I come to do the gravel and what have you around the edges and the texturing, but for now I'm just going to leave that like that and dry. This one's perfectly fine, so I'll probably process them together now and maybe only show one. I'll probably work on this one as the most complex. I want to have a tree coming out of here and stuff like that basically, and the other I'll use the same techniques. But yeah, we'll let's get this on the road. It's starting to look really nice, starting to really give the impression of what I was looking for. Meet Brilette. You'll be seeing more about her in other videos, but that's not the point here. This is a character I've made for a solo role-playing game that I'm doing called Colossal, which is superb. It was a Kickstarter. It is available for pre-order if you are interested, and it will be coming to the channel as a series where I'll be talking through the adventures. But I'm no artist. And so a lot of people are doing drawings and sketches. I can't do that. So what I've done is I've gone away and found a really cool miniature which matches my vision of what this character is, and the link to that is in the description below. And as I rolled up the character, which you'll understand more if you watch that series, I found that she actually had a companion, and this is her companion, and this is what this little bit of video is going to be about. So what I'm going to be looking at doing is, this is a flying rook, literally. It's a rook, look, see? And I've asked, in massively democratic style, I've asked two people, thanks Quinn and Angela, how I should arrange the propellers. Now the ideas that they were settled on, the two ideas are a dual propeller above, or angled, kind of like this, which is going to be a bit hard to show, but kind of angled away from the body like that. I'm not 100% sure just yet. I'm thinking angled for a couple of reasons, which I'll go into as I do the build. But yeah, it's basically going to be a cocktail stick stuck to the side here where there's the cog, and that will go into this little hole and vice versa. And then I'll probably have another cocktail stick coming down that will act as a bit of support, because it's going to be a little bit fragile, but it will be going onto diorama, not going to be a play piece. So anyway, there we are. This is going to be a very quick little conversion and paint job for this, which is actually called B, which I'll be doing over the coming couple of days. And Brer herself is going to be being painted up as I go through the adventure. But yeah, you'll see that in another video, as I keep saying. This here is B, and I'm going to do in this video. I've had a bit of a think. And I think that rather than attempting to scratch build this platform, I'm going to make use of this offcut of balsa that I've saved from my previous project, because I'm tight, so I have a bag full of balsa offcuts. But tight is good, because it means that rather than spending quite a lot of time constructing it from scratch, there I have my little platform, which he's going to be able to sit on. And I am that tight that I've got a little tray which has lots of offcuts of toothpicks, which has been seen before in my build for the gaslands, because I used these to do spikes on the cars. And what I'm going to be able to do is I'm going to be able to use the bradawl to dip a little hole into the grass, put these, and then these spikes will be able to be glued to the bottom of the platform and just raise it very slightly above the grass, and that will look really well. So I'm probably going to stain this, and I'm probably going to stain this using the wood stain, but the problem with that is it will probably warp, so I think I'll stain it once it's in place, because then it will be secure. So the first thing to do is going to be to stick one of these little kind of points from the end of a cocktail stick onto each corner, and maybe in the middle as well. I might put 6 in. Work out where they're going to be stuck in, use the bradawl and glue it in place. So when I'm coming to glue, I will show you what that looks like. So I've made my decision, and I'm probably going to end up making 2 of these. So it's kind of a cop-out, but I'm going to do the one with the from the sides first. And what I've done here is I've got some toothpicks and I've cut them at an angle, and I'm going to glue them on just where that cog is, as you can see there, just like that, to give it an angle. I'll do one on each side, and the reason why I've done that is I can actually then slide the propeller on and it will rotate, which is pretty cool. So I'll maybe look at getting a little something there to hold it on, maybe a bit of wire or something. But that's pretty cool, isn't it? So yeah, I'm going to glue those two on. I'm not going to do it on camera because it's going to be super fiddly. And once they're glued on, then I will start to paint it, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. It's going to be a very quick project, this, to be finished. And yeah, it's going to look really nice. So what I'm now going to do is, and I've done a practice on this side, I'm going to drill a little hole, a little indentation where I want to have these uprights. I did try without, and they just kept falling off. I thought they might be a bit too loose, not strong enough. So yeah, so I'm just gonna do that, and I've got my mask, as you can see, and a brush, so I can brush the dust straight into the bin and prevent the nastiness. So I'm not going to film this because it's going to be a bit fiddly, but that's what I'm going to do next, and then just super glue to glue these in place, and then start painting. So this is now nicely secured in place, and I've actually not bothered to glue it because I didn't need to. Oh, knock it there. So what I'm going to do now is make use of my raw umber and just take a little bit onto a brush and brush it across, just to darken it up slightly, but I don't want it to be too dark. I decided against using a wood stain, mainly because of the warping, and also just because actually I think I prefer that look. So I look a little bit kind of like, you know, temporary or dirty or whatever. Let me zoom in a little bit more so you can see the effect I've got. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clip the miniatures that I want to put onto this off of their pudding bases and glue them in place. So as I mentioned yesterday, I have my Sergeant Major here who has his little kind of stick, whatever, and he's going to be stood up here. This guy here who hasn't got an arm is actually going to go onto the final diorama piece. And then I have one guy who is saluting, who is going to go at the front, and then all the others will be in ranks behind. So I'll get those clipped off, glued in place, and then bring it to show you, and then that will be basically this done. Though I am starting to think that maybe it needs a flagstaff, but we shall see. And so we come to the third bit of this diorama. This is the explosions. So I'm going to place the figures on this now because then I can do any composition of other things around them, and I think that's going to be the right way to do it. So once again, using super glue, which is a good option for this, particularly because this is not going to be a gaming piece. I'm just going to place one figure here, and one there, running around the explosion. So I might need to use some activator, or I might put some baking soda on, but it should go off very quickly. So I'll get that done. I won't film it all. Me holding a miniature isn't very exciting, and I'll bring you back and show what it looks like when it's finished. And there we are. So let that go off properly, and then I'll dress it with some other details. I'm not entirely sure what. I'm thinking maybe just some detritus, like a wheel or whatever. Maybe not going to put any dead bodies on there. Just don't want to. But maybe I'll do some like wheels or some wood and some metal, twisted metal that they're running past. But for now, I think that really is a very nice little vignette. And even if I didn't add anything, I think it'd be fine. But I do think it does need just a little bit more scatter going on. I don't want to distract from them. I want it to be very focused just on the people and the explosion. But yeah, just a couple of bits and pieces maybe, and then that'll be finished. So you can see that I've done the flat one already. So let me show you how I'm going about doing the more built up one. I'm using black paint, black terrain paint rather than brown. Two reasons, one of which my brown needs refreshing. So yeah, and the second reason is actually I think that's what I want. I'm going to use a dry brushing technique to add browns and other colours. So it will work really, really nicely without having to use but it will give a really good depth. So there's another little technique. I may indeed do some more modelling compound actually. Now I'm looking at this as well, but this is going to be a good starter for 10. It's a quick technique, it dries very fast. So anyway, so we pop the paint around the edges like that, and then I have a tub here with some sand in it, which is just builder's sand, and just scatter it on. Depending on the effect you're going for, you can leave it on, but I'm going to actually empty this straight off back into the container because I don't want it to be too thick at this stage. Like I say, I might be putting quite a few different textures on this to get this right. I am on newspaper because you don't want to make a mess if you can help it. So yeah, lots of sand, and then we'll empty it back into the bucket. And I will let that to go off and check it in a couple of hours. You can see that the muttering I was making at the end is absolutely right. I really shouldn't have done the sand yet. That's going to be a wasted process, but that's fine. I do make mistakes, as I always say, and I don't hide them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mix up some more modelling compound, and I'm going to fill in this gap here and just make sure that I'm actually happy with how this blends into the base. And then I'll do the same thing, black paint, sand. So I'll do that, then I'll do the black paint, sand, and then I'll bring you back for the next step on this build. But yeah, a bit annoyed at myself for missing that. But yeah, that's what happens when you feel a bit pressured, or you push yourself, or you rush. You know, just take a deep breath and look and plan your next step. So I'm sat on the balcony, and this week I received Conan, the Tower of the Elephant, which is a soloable game that I backed on Kickstarter, and I actually haven't opened it. It arrived a couple of days ago. I've been that busy, I've not been able to get to it. And I wanted to do that on camera, so I thought I'd bring you along with it for this, and we can see what's inside the box. The first thing that was loose is 25 tote clamp bases, so whatever we use those for. So let's get this lid off nice and tight. Now the interesting thing with this is that the box, if you can see that, is actually part of the game board, which is really cool. I like that idea. It's a good bit of reuse and recycling. So we've got a rule book. Softbacks are always disappointing compared to hardbacks, but that'll be something I'll need to look at. But you can see here in the picture that you have the entrance, and then you have like a tower, which is what is going to be here. You have some miniatures, but not many, a few dice, some standees. Yeah, it looked like a really cool game. It was pretty cheap. I mean, it arrived pretty much on time. It's been a very nice experience. So, yeah, we've got a scenario. Here we have some cards. So you've got a spider. What once was Taurus. Got Yara. If you've read the books, then you'll know to what this refers. And here is Conan. And that's pretty nice. That's nice artwork, isn't it? And here's his character sheet. So what we then have is some punch cards, including some standees. Now I presume those are what the tote clamp bases are going to be for, but I did back to include miniatures, so hopefully they're in here. If they aren't, I'll be a bit surprised. So we've got some gems, got some small dice, they're teeny tiny dice. Got some other bands, got some other cubes for tracking your resources. We have a couple of packs of standard sized cards, so I'll be sleeving those. We have some silica gel to throw away, make sure Rosie doesn't get hold of that. And here we have the miniatures. So I'll get them out properly, do a close up and look at those properly rather than so far away. We have some more trackers. Looks to me like that's going to be quite useful in the game. And then we have some more standees. These are going to be the standees then, so yeah, that's cool. And then inside here we have the tower. So let me just have a look at that, how that works. There we are, look at that. I mean, it is pretty cool. I think you've got to admit that is cool using the box as a board. I know they're not the only ones that have done it. So I'm not entirely sure how that gets set up. I'll have to have a look at the rules, but you can see that it's very tightly packed. Got stairs. That's really cool. Right, I'm not going to get any more of that out right now. I need to look at the rules and work out exactly what each thing means and how it works. So what I'm going to do is pop this away, zoom the camera down, and we'll have a look at these miniatures. So here we are, 4 miniatures, obviously the board game miniatures, so we're not looking for Games Workshop quality. I can see immediately on this one there's going to be a little bit of filling that I'm going to need to do on his arm, just there. That's going to be too much of a problem for me to ignore that little gap there. But on immediate inspection, and I literally have opened the box, put them on the table and started filming, tiny bit of flash to clean up. Nothing on this one at all that I can see I need to clean up. Maybe a little bit of a mould line coming down the side there. And on Conan himself here, I can't see anything. So they are very, very clean, particularly for, normally you get quite bad quality in board games, so they're not great because they're not designed for painting, they're designed for moving around. You can use pennies if you wish to, but they're pretty good quality. I'm pretty pleased with that. That's not going to take very long to tidy up and paint. Maybe a tiny bit of a mould line on Conan there. So yeah, a very, very quick fly through unboxing. Initial impressions are this is good quality. This is good quality stuff. Everything looks very nice. There's no damage to the box. I did see one person had a little bit of damage to their box, which is absolutely gutting because obviously it's part of the game. So what I need to do now, and I will try to get some of this, some Conan onto camera, because it is a solo game, so it's soloable, so I should be able to do some battle reports of this and have some fun. I will probably paint these first, which shouldn't take me too long, because there's only 4 miniatures obviously, so I can do those in a couple of nights and get that done, so that shouldn't delay me. But what I need to do is read the rules and work out where things go. So look out for a standalone video on this where I introduce the game and then maybe some playthroughs. But yeah, it's really cool to have received it. Really painless process, one of the better Kickstarter processes I've ever had. And yeah, now it's arrived. I'm really pleased I pulled the trigger on it. It looks really nice. I'm looking forward to getting a game. This may not look like much, but this is pretty cool because that other end of the railway was a huge mess right up until about 10 minutes ago. And I've just tidied through. I need to hoover it and sweep it and what have you. But what that now shows is the plan of the little town that I'm going to build. So I have the church, which I will start to build. I have a school on its way. It's on a truck at the moment, just a paper craft one, which I thought would be quite fun. So the next bit of this process of this build is going to be making kits to go onto the layout, because when I see the size of the kits I can actually properly place them in and then build the terrain around them. The station, which is over to the left over here, is going to be scratch built in the same technique as I used for the farmhouse, and that also will be a super awesome collaboration, hopefully, with a very good friend of mine. Getting that organised at the moment. So yeah, there'll be some quite interesting stuff going on around that. For the farm, the current state is again waiting for a few deliveries. I need some cows. I have another super awesome tree coming as well, and just continue painting the tracks, which I haven't done for a little while. I need to get back to that, and continue detailing. So that will be kind of an ongoing drip process, but it's pretty much done. Very happy with how it looks. As I say, there's a fair amount more detailing needed, but yeah, it's done to all intents and purposes, the farm. So now we're going to focus on this half, which is really, really cool. So yeah, very, very happy to have cleared it off, see what's in front of me, and let's get cracking. Well, there you are, the end of hobby vlog number 84. Can't believe I got that wrong. I hope you enjoyed that little joke at the beginning. It was an honest mistake though, honestly. So if you got this far, thank you very much for watching. I also want to thank everyone that watched the live stream I did last night with James Flanks06, who you will know because you will have gone to his channel from the recommendation Mondays I did for him a couple of months back. But if you haven't, go check it out now. Go and have a look for that recommendation Mondays video. I'll try and remember to link it. I should remember because I'm about to save this. And then yeah, go and get him, go and give him a sub. He's a good lad. I had a really good time last night. Painted up some stuff for Arena, and talked about lots of different subjects. So yeah, really good fun. So don't forget to leave a comment below. I always reply to them. I do love to hear from you. Thank you again for watching this far. Thank you for all your support and encouragement. It does mean a huge amount to me. And as always, please do stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.